so the tournament didn't get off to the best start. The selection show's new format was widely panned. It began with a tedious alphabetical reading of all the automatic qualifying schools, which was literally the only thing that anyone watching could know before tuning in, and while the announcement of the full 68-team field before the actual bracket allowed every bubble question to be answered up front, it meant 20 minutes went by before we knew who anyone would be playing or where. The good news, nothing this time of year lasts very long. By the time we've all caught our breath from shouting about one game's dramatic finish, our collective attention is already turning toward the development of another. And so it is with Selection Sunday gripes. Once the bracket is revealed, the fun begins immediately. Well, except for those teams left out in the cold. Anyway, with the big reveal now in the books, here are 18 thoughts on the 2018 NCAA Tournament Bracket. Point 1. It feels like there might be some separation after all. Maybe it's just me, but after a season of talk about how there were no great teams and everything was wide open, the bracket as seeded seems to make sense. The number 1 and 2 seeds generally have some separation from the pack. Virginia and Villanova in particular look like they might be great after all. Kansas showed it's still Kansas. Duke's once disjointed defense has started to catch up to its offense. North Carolina is making a strong push after an up-and-down year. On my first run through the bracket, it was hard to avoid a pretty chalky Elite Eight. Here's hoping things are a bit more unpredictable than that. Point 2. Kansas looks to have the hardest draw for a no. They would only have to face one of them, but both Duke and Michigan State, the top 2 teams in the preseason AP poll, a better predictor of tourney success than the end-of-season poll, are in the Jayhawks region and represent, based on efficiency metrics, the best teams on both the no. 2 and number 3 seed lines. By that same measure, Kansas is actually the 3rd best team in the Midwest, a distinction also true of no. 1 seed Xavier in the West, and Auburn is the bracket's 2nd best no. 4.3. Villanova has the easiest. This is always a misleading label because no path is really ever all that easy, short of the bracket getting truly busted by an unruly run of upsets. But the 3 next top seeds in the East, Purdue, Texas Tech, and Wichita State, are all in the middle or back end of their seed lines, and none appear to be particularly underseeded. They're good teams, but there isn't necessarily a top title contender among them. Point 4. The Magic 8 had an anti-West bias. A month ago I made my first attempt at SI.com's Magic 8 tradition, selecting a group of 8 teams within a set of requirements, from which the national champion would emerge. If the Magic 8 is to be believed, and why wouldn't it be, the odds are against the West producing a champ, as only one of its teams made the list, and it's 4th-seeded Gonzaga. The Midwest has 3, Kansas, Duke, Michigan State, and East, Villanova and Purdue, and South Virginia and Arizona, each have 2.5. Arizona might be left alone to carry the Pac-12 mantle. Only 3 teams from the league ended up making the field, and 2 of them, Arizona State and UCLA, will be playing games in Dayton just to reach the round of 64. A year ago the Pac-12 sent just 1 more team, but 3 of them were top 3 seeds. This year only the Wildcats, a no. 4 seed in the South, are in a good position to reach the second weekend. Point 6. The Big Ten, low in quantity, but potential for quality. Only 4 Big Ten teams made the field, the lowest number in a decade. And while none are a no. 1 seed, the league does offer a number 2, Purdue, 2 number 3s, Michigan and Michigan State, and a strong number 5, Ohio State. All 4 surviving the weekend, leaving the Big Ten with 25% of the Sweet 16, wouldn't be far-fetched, and would make up for what has been a down year for the conference. But easier said than done. Point 7. Mid-majors will be missed. A record 5 major conference teams with losing records in league play received at-large invites, 2 more than the previous high. Meanwhile, St. Mary's, 28-5, 28th in overall efficiency, and Middle Tennessee, 27-4, 52nd, were sent to the NIT, the latter snub resulting in the sad scene of Nick King sitting alone in the Blue Raiders film room an hour after the field was announced. Middle Tennessee wasn't even among the first 4 out. That's a shame. Point 8. Yes, the FBI-ensnared bubble teams were all left out too. Many observers were quick to point out that the 3 teams on the bubble who have been implicated in the FBI's investigation in recruiting, USC, Louisville, and Oklahoma State, all failed to receive invites. Latter 2